Hello everyone, this is Bobbin Threadbare, and welcome back to Deus Ex. Today's video is something of the calm before the storm. Things are gonna get real interesting real quick, but not in this video. So I'm gonna have to ask you all to be a little patient on that front before the real action starts. And until then, welcome back to Hell's Kitchen.
He doesn't have much time.
Your brother's hurt pretty bad. You'll find him at the apartment. If he can walk, get him to come with you. I can pick you guys up in Battery Park.
Incidentally, I don't think we ever see Jock in person again after meeting him at the bar. And actually the bar meeting is optional, so it's possible that you never know what Jock really looks like aside from that little portrait in the corner there. There's not much new spread around here, aside from, Paul being in the corner.
Is this kill switch real? What's it going to do to you?
I'm afraid that's, classified.
Manderley said you're going to die.
You've got to have God clearance to know. The nanites can be programmed for exponential growth.
There's a chopper that can take us to Hong Kong. You know Jock?
First, you're the only one that can help. I need to send the NSF distress code. UNATCO tracked Lebedev to the other NSF bases, and to Silhouette in France.
I came to get you out of here.
JC, you've got to believe me. UNATCO takes payoffs. Silhouette, the other terrorist groups, they're our allies.
You've done what you can for the rebels. Let's go.
You want proof? Pay a visit to the NSF headquarters. Down in the basement, protected by booby traps, a data cube sits on the edge of a table. My report to the militia leaders. Here, I have a photograph of the building. It's a couple blocks to the west, behind the bar.
And I suppose while I'm there you want me to encrypt the signal with the NSF transmitter. Bypass UNATCO SIGINT?
A lot of people could die. My friend Chad, for example, the leader of Silhouette.
I'll check out the facility, but I can't promise I'll help the terrorists. Be ready to leave for Hong Kong when I get back. You sure you're alright?
No worse than a bad cold. What kills me is just
that they have this kind of power.
The power, yes, but the fact that it's been there from the beginning. A lot of things are starting to make sense. You remember Mom and Dad?
You think they knew?
Lebedev thought so. He said they were employees of the United Nations.
They would never have agreed to anything like a kill switch.
Remember, I knew them longer than you did, and after what Tong showed me, I'm pretty certain we don't have a stitch of DNA in common with either of our supposed parents. They've opened up the street behind the bar. The NSF base is on the other side of the tunnel. Silhouette's not much to speak of militarily, but you might call them the brains of the resistance movement. They go after public opinion. If it wasn't for Silhouette, there'd be a half a dozen meaningless civil wars going on instead of any kind of worldwide struggle. Ironically, to fight the One-Worlders, we ourselves have to become a global organization.
Interesting. More Jacob's Shadow. Not sure if we've seen that quote before or not. Something I find really interesting about the relationship here is that it's pretty obvious from what he's saying that JC finds his relationship with his brother is more important than politics to him. Nice to see he's restocked a bit. Of course, I'm completely stocked up in general. Although I could always use an upgrade mod. Boost my super speed. Awesome. See if Denton's got anything new in here. Nope. And nothing hiding in the darkness. Alright. So, downstairs is a confrontation waiting to... Lovely. Downstairs is a confrontation waiting to happen. The two Rentons are going to meet up with, what's his name? Jojo Fine, who you'll recall is the guy who was supposed to be in charge of that factory we hit, warehouse. I'm still making that mistake. He was supposed to be in charge of the warehouse we hit, but he bugged out before we could get there. Apparently he heard all the shooting, and it's not too surprising. Anyway, he's taken over the hotel at this point. And several things can happen. Number one, Jojo dies and the two Rentons live. At this point, Sandra Renton gets sick of her father and bugs off. Option 2, Sandra dies and Jojo dies. Option 3, Papa Renton dies and Jojo dies. Option 4, both the Rentons die, at which point Jojo just sort of, I don't know, mouths off to you about owning the hotel now. Or the last option is that you can give Papa Renton a gun, and he can defend the two of them from Jojo, although you'll probably end up shooting Jojo yourself anyway.
He's not my boyfriend.
And what is he?
He's Jojo. God!
I don't like him staying in my hotel.
Then evict him.
How'd you get mixed up with someone like that in the first place?
Jesus, Dad, do you expect me to do it? It's your hotel.
I just don't want any trouble.
Then get used to it. Jojo's the boss on this street. Nothing anybody can do about it. Mind your own business.
What's the trouble?
None of your business.
One of the neighborhood thugs, Jojo. He thinks he owns the block.
I can straighten him out. Just tell me where he is.
I get some rough people in here, but this guy, I don't know, he's jumpy.
He's just a punk. I'll take care of it.
Can you help me out? I could really use a gun for protection.
So Sandra appreciates her father if he is able to defend her, but
I would rather not arm a civilian.
You weren't gonna shoot nobody anyway, Jesus.
What am I going to do?
Besides, it's against the law for civilians to carry weapons.
Tell that to the gangsters.
I've already modified my pistol.
He wasn't gonna stand up to Jojo anyway.
And that thing I said before,
Pays off the cops, so there's nothing I can do.
He wasn't gonna...
He pays off the cops, so there's
the
nothing.
thing I said earlier about being able to trade out guns and keep the mods, turns out that was a bug,
Oh, you bad.
and it got fixed in the patch. And anyway, he takes forever to get downstairs, so...
What you just lying around for, girl?
What?
I told you, bar rush is money. It's business.
In a minute.
That's my daughter you're talking to.
I already explained it, old man. Your girl, she needs me. She don't got an education, and all you got to give her is a job killing rats.
This is my hotel. I want you to leave.
Next thing is I explain it lo bruto. Is that what you want?
I'll go already. Leave him alone.
I don't care what happens to me. Stay away from my little girl.
I was hoping I'd run into that punk.
Are you nuts? You almost got yourself killed.
You can relax now. No more getting bossed around.
No thanks to you. If it wasn't for JC, we'd both be dead.
You want to go through your whole life with guys like Jojo? Is that it?
God, I can't stand this place.
I think you'll be happier without that guy around.
I'm leaving. I'm getting on a bus and going west until I run out of money or get to the ocean, whichever comes first.
Come on, Sandra. I just wanted to help.
Generally, I find this is the most interesting ending.
I mean it. I'm leaving. Around here, all you can be is a bum. I'm not gonna live like that.
Huh. She stepped on the cleaner bot and she's gone into panic mode. That's a little awkward.
I don't think she's coming back this time. I just don't understand. Why won't she listen? I don't think she's coming back this time.
The most obviously happy ending is that Sandra appreciates her father and decides to stick
I
around.
think I'll go to Eugene, Oregon. I mean it. I'm leaving.
But this is the most interesting ending for reasons that we are not going to see for a very long time to come yet. Plus, anyway, at this point, it's probably a good idea to get out of the decaying urban areas. Let's see. News is keeping up with our exploits. And Paige donates to the local clinics. That's nice of him. They could certainly use the help. Getting damn well overwhelmed by all the Grey Death victims coming in. And of course, you can't get back into the warehouse district, and
Your buddies at UNATCO asked us to steer people away from the Tan. This block is about to heat up again. Clear the streets, no exceptions.
So much like UNATCO HQ itself, the area has gotten a lot quieter. Free clinics boarded up, can't get into the warehouse district. The bar is still open though. Bar is open 24/7.
Sick of being shoved around.
No escape.
I'm just minding my own business.
It's already too late for you.
You better stay away from the apartment on the 2nd floor. That guy's packing, and he doesn't like people messing with his stuff.
Came at us with everything they had, cut us to pieces even before we could take Washington State.
What you looking at?
They have us outnumbered.
So there are still a few other places we can visit. Like I said, the bar is still open. And then of course there's Smuggler. So far as I know, he doesn't actually sleep.
Hey, Mr. UNATCO man, you guys going after JoJo?
I'm not going after anybody.
That's pretty logical. Him being hit out in the Tan.
JoJo Fine of the NSF?
The whole street's a UNATCO security zone. That's why they sent me down here. They're gonna take that punk out and no one's gonna miss him.
You can forget about JoJo. I left him on his back in the hotel.
Really? That's it?
He's not going to be a problem anymore.
Does that mean the evacuation's over?
You better stay here until the police say it's okay.
I gotta use the street to get home. They got JoJo. What more do they need to do? Man, I can't believe that guy's dead. I've been dreaming about this day. I can't wait to tell Janie. Thanks, man. Really. Thanks, man. Really.
Looks like we can't get into the subway just yet, for some reason. Back here we've got the basketball court. Nobody's here, but the basket is. Let's see if I can try this again. No, wait, hang on, let me just... Yeah! You may recall, of course, that Ion Storm, both sides of it, were based in Texas. And hey, this place is full up on goodies suddenly. Goodies I've already got. But at least I know that they're here. Maybe I could come back for them later. But until then, there is actually one other place we can visit here. And now that's just cigarettes. See, remember when I said you could only visit this map down here once? Well, it's technically true because the maps are changed every time you revisit a hub area. But the fact is that even if you did not come down here the first time it was available, you can come down here now. Although it's going to be like this and not full of living MJ-12 troopers, no matter what you did or didn't do the first time around. It's always going to be unlocked, it's always going to be empty. And you know what, I think I might be able to use that gas grenade for something later on. But of course, the advantage of coming here first is that the codes still work. Now there's a dead body here, and oddly enough, these are low enough that I cannot crawl under them like I could last time. It's a subtle adjustment, and I'm screwed up enough that I'm getting the hell out of here while I still can. Right. Security panel's actually gone from here, too. And there's a bunch of dead bodies swimming in the water down here. I guess the idea is that if you don't do this yourself, maybe Smuggler or Paul himself will come down here and deal with the problem. You may have noticed the actual water treatment plant. The way there's been blocked by a cave-in. So it's true enough that you can never go back to that part of the map if you miss your opportunity the first time. But really the only reason to come up here is that there are a bunch of, ammo boxes around. All kinds of different ammo. Plus a single exploration bonus. Aside from that, there's nothing down there at all. So let's just head down to Smuggler's.
Yes. Password?
Bloodshot.
Naturally, the password also works if you got it the first time. And naturally, if you didn't get it the first time, you'll have to take the back way in every time, ever again. Just in case you were wondering about my lockpick and multi-tool uses, I in fact did go and get those two from the cargo container earlier during that cut. And thankfully there's a multi-tool just sitting there waiting for me to replace the one I have to use.
Tell Paul he better lay low for the next few hours. Now what do you want?
Anything for sale?
Hey, about your brother. If he's in Hell's Kitchen, he's a sitting duck.
So you heard that he went over to the NSF?
UNATCO's got this place nailed down. One thing they can't stand, an agent gone AWOL.
Maybe I should prepare for the worst. What do you have for me?
I have an extended clip that'll fit most handguns and rifles for 1,500 credits, a ranged weapon mod for 2,400, and a napalm canister that fits most flamethrowers for 2,250.
Man.
I'll give you 2,400 for the range mod.
Doesn't look like you can carry anything else right now.
Whoops. But yeah, those are really expensive. And I think I still got the discount, too.
This is what I've got.
I'll give you 20.
Deal.
But yeah, of course, I've got the money. I'm gonna buy both of the weapon mods. That's just what you do.
This is what I've got.
Sell me the extended clip for 1,500.
Deal.
I mean, money is really just useless if you're not going to buy anything, any sort of weapon mods with it. And I certainly don't need a napalm canister. So what are you looking at today? Oh, actually the 3 NSF people that you consistently read messages from are trying to get out of New York City now that their operation has been busted.
I've heard talk of a raid on the Ton.
And you may notice I'm cheating again. Poorly. I've got this written down, but I, for some reason, cannot type it out correctly for the life of me. Anyway, the reason that I'm cheating right now is because of something that actually I'd like to fix. You see, you remember that fellow I rescued out of the sewers? Well, he's supposed to be here. But thanks to a missing flag, he never will show up on his own. However, if you summon him in using the console commands...
The best thing is to stay out of UNATCO's way.
If I could actually type this out... Then he will appear as he ought to be.
How's life on the outside?
So far, so good. I'm already back to my own research.
What are you working on?
Myelin. Sometimes we can't sell prosthetics because people are afraid of nerve damage.
Synthetic myelin?
A genetic treatment. I've thought for a long time that if we could make people's nervous systems a little more resilient, we could put a good price on some of the junk smugglers collected over the years.
I see.
This is what I've got.
I wasn't talking to you.
Not interested.
I was talking to your invisible friend.
Thanks again for getting me out of that lab. Smuggler said you got a lifelong discount on anything he sells. I'd stay off the streets tonight. A lot of police activity. The cops are mopping up. I think one of the NSF leaders is still at large.
You don't say.
The cops are mopping up.
The best thing is to stay out of UNATCO.
So yeah, as you can tell from all the dialogue, Fort Chick is really supposed to be here. Like, he would only have that dialogue because he is supposed to be present right here and now. In this particular instance of Smuggler's Lair, And, you know, the baton won't work this second time, so I thought maybe I'd try some sabot rounds instead, but they don't work either, so we're just going to go with the good old-fashioned rocket to the wall. Rocket to the false mirror thing. Of course, you gotta be careful when you're firing rockets around here, because, you know, if Smuggler hears something's going on, he will get angry. And although you can dodge him long enough for him to calm down, it's still, you know, a little... Oh, God damn it. Not again. It's still troubling to have to, you know, dodge Smuggler's bullets for a while. Also, 50% recoil, hell yeah.
Tell Paul he better lay low for the next few hours.
I guess I freaked out his friend there. So anyway, onto the bar. That'll be the same messages we saw earlier. Of course, like I said, the bar is open, but there's far fewer people here than before, like with everything else. However, the people who are here are some pretty interesting folks. People you might remember from before.
Hey, you know the Rentons, right? There's trouble at the Ton.
I already took care of that punk Jojo, if that's what you mean.
Really? He's dead?
Surprised?
I'm just glad to see that someone gives a damn about the Rentons. UNATCO seems to think they have bigger fish to fry.
Well, they kind of do.
Nothing, but thanks.
Actually, they definitely do. Jojo's just a small-time punk. Hey, I remember you.
Perfect. Someone who can tell me about the raid.
What I want to know is how my boss found out that I talked to you.
You're the investigator, you tell me.
I think one of us told him.
If I knew him, I wouldn't have to question you, now would I? Just answer one thing. Why are they closing the bar and clearing out the streets? What could be worse than the fighting earlier this evening?
I wish I had an answer to that, but even if I did, it wouldn't be any of your business. How about I interview you? Tell me what you've dug up on the raid.
What's the matter? Did they leave you out of the loop?
I'm the one asking the questions.
Must be a high-level operation. I'd sure like to know what it is.
Alright, forget it. I'll find out on my own.
Place is almost empty. I could sure use better contacts at UNATCO. Let me know if you hear anything.
You know, he could still know my boss if he was the one doing all of the talking. Or you've seen that Millennium magazine.
Here's a tip for free. Take cover. UNATCO's about to do a raid. All they said was, clear out, we're coming in. Good to see you UNATCO boys know how to clean up this town. I hear UNATCO's got a team going over the old NSF hideout. Probably put me out of business. By morning, UNATCO will know everything there is to know about the rebels. I bet I wake up tomorrow and I don't have a job.
Well, Harvey Philbin's kind of pessimistic about the whole thing, but... well, overall, that's all there is to do in the bar. Looks like the gang war's heating up in Hong Kong. I suppose that's just to be expected, but this door was closed and it had the Bostonian city police officers guarding it last time, you may recall. But now it's actually a very long passageway. Like, I have no idea why it's this long, and that's just assault rifle ammo. I don't need that. Buckshot, don't need that either. Yeah, for some reason there's a well-hidden crate in all of these corners here. Just for no particular reason. Other than they could. And I don't need that either. Oh well.
I thought they were shipping you off to Hong Kong.
Had to pack a few things. What's going on here?
Damage control. The NSF got their hands on some pretty sensitive material.
Probably had something to do with my two-faced brother.
Nothing we can't clean up.
Mind if I take a look around?
Go right ahead.
That sounds like an invitation, but you know what? You might be a little trouble later, so I'm gonna just take you out of the picture right now. Over here's another corner with some item crates stacked behind the big cardboard boxes. In this case, it's a med kit. Might as well use one. Take care of that turret damage I took earlier, and next time, the shit will hit the fan. And now, today, I'm going to take you back to Literature Corner. It's been a while since we were here last, although honestly the corner on the Mole People could have gone here too. But today I'd like to discuss a book that's of central importance to Deus Ex, The Man Who Was Thursday. Only Thursday and Jacob's Shadow have excerpts scattered throughout the entire game. A fact I'm sure is helped along by how the book is in the public domain. And meanwhile, Jacob's Shadow is a fake novel whose excerpts were written by Chris Todd, one of the developers, but still, the Thursday quotes had to be transcribed and inserted everywhere, so the book is undoubtedly of importance to the game. Some background. Let me start out with a little context. The 19th century was remarkable for the rise of organized ideas, by which I mean that people began to fight for causes and theories in ways that they had used to fight for nations, religions, or tribes. The origins are likely with the Republican Jacobins who helped lead the French Revolution at the end of the 18th century. There were inklings of it in the American Revolution, but the latter was ultimately a more pragmatic affair based around home rule and fair representation. A democratic republic is one thing, but as the 19th century wore on, more political philosophies emerged, some more extreme than others. Socialism and worker unions, communism, capitalism, libertarianism, fascism, and then the particular subject of The Man Who Was Thursday, anarchism. Of course, all of this idealism eventually led to a period of disillusionment in the 20th century, particularly after World War I, by which time it was discovered that fighting for an ideal caused just as much pain and suffering as fighting for a nation, religion, or tribe. More pain and suffering, if anything, but that's more because the technology of war became frighteningly efficient over this time period as well. And so it led to a number of disillusioned books and other media. Les Miserables, about the suffering of individuals during the rocky period after Napoleon's exile. The Metamorphosis, about a man who turns into a giant insect, grows sick, and dies. L'Étranger, about a man who loses his will to live and let others live after his mother dies. Catch-22, about the absurdity of the war machine. Le Roi de Coeur, King of Hearts, about a group of asylum inmates who take over a town and still make more sense than the world war raging outside the walls. And of course, there's The Man Who Was Thursday, about an anti-anarchist policeman who is also a philosopher and a day of the week. And an angel. The book. Thursday begins with the protagonist, Gabriel Syme, entering into a philosophical duel with Lucien Gregory, a professed anarchist who spends his time chatting with women in the park. Lucien finds art in chaos, the random burst of a tree and the statement of a bomb. But Gabriel considers the lamppost, which lets you see in the dark, to be amazing. The trains, which run on time every day, to be miraculous. He also considers Gregory to be a poser, and so Gregory convinces Syme to follow him to an anarchist meeting, but also to swear to say nothing about it to the police. The council is about to elect a new Thursday to represent them on the anarchist Grand Council of Days, which apparently exists, and while Gregory was a shoo-in before Syme arrived, the latter confides that he's an undercover cop before the meeting is held, and thus Gregory attempts to throw him off with a milquetoast speech. This gives Syme the chance to jump in with something more fiery, and he gets himself elected as Thursday by a unanimous vote. Syme then goes to the Council of Days, which is held in the open to throw off suspicion. There he meets Monday, the secretary, a thin pessimist with flashes of anger. Tuesday, the Pole, a hairy and sad-faced peasant. Wednesday, the Marquis, a suspicious-looking foreigner. Friday, the Professor, an ancient German nihilist. Saturday, the Doctor, a boisterous yet creepy man with a pair of dark glasses. And finally, Sunday, the President, a man who is huge in every sense of the word. Size, fat, muscle, presence, importance. Sunday is the most dangerous man at the table by far. Something Syme realizes from the very start. Before the meeting end, Sunday accuses one of the Days of being an undercover policeman. Tuesday, the Polish peasant. And he is. The accent and the heavy beard were all just an act. Once they kick him out, the meeting concludes with a decision to have the Marquis bomb the French president while he's meeting with the Russian Tsar. Details to be ironed out by the Marquis himself, and the days of the week adjourn. On his way out from the meeting, Syme is shadowed by the Professor, who it turns out is extremely fast when no one is looking. When Syme finally stops running, the Professor explains that he is also an undercover cop. He was once an actor who imitated the real Professor to mock him, but his impression was so perfect that he was taken for the real thing. However, one man was not fooled. A man in a pitch-black room who recruited him into the police, something which both the false professor and Syme have in common. The next day, the two men confront the doctor to find out where the Marquis has gone. In the process, they discover that the doctor is also an undercover cop. Noticing a pattern yet? Because Syme hasn't. The doctor's disguise was simply the pair of dark glasses which concealed his eyes, a disguise recommended to him by a man in a darkened room. The three cross to France to chase down the Marquis, and Syme has the brilliant idea to challenge him to a duel. Although duels were extremely uncommon by 1908, when the book was written, in order to force the Marquis to miss the train to Paris. The two fence in a field next to the train station, but by the end, the Marquis reveals that he too is a policeman, and what he's really worried about is a group of anarchists led by the secretary, who get off the train just after the Marquis explains himself. The four men are then pursued across several miles of French countryside until at last they are cornered at dusk on a pier. Fed up with the chase, Syme whacks the secretary on the head with a lantern and declares that he's ready to die for the sake of law and order. This confuses the secretary, who explains that he'd whipped up a posse to arrest the remaining members of the anarchist council. Once they realize they're all on the same side, everyone returns to England, and with the fake Pole having returned to the party, they go to confront Sunday to figure out what the hell is going on. Now, fair warning, this is where things get really weird. Rather than answer the group, Sunday admits that he was the man in the dark room who made them all policemen, and then leads them on a merry chase which includes hijacking a hansom cab, jumping onto a fire truck, fleeing on an elephant, and finally a cross-country journey using a hot air balloon. When the balloon finally deflates and the officers catch up, they are whisked away to a fancy estate and made to dress up as days of the week for a grand masquerade featuring all sorts of real and imagined animals and objects. The outfits of the days are themed after the first 6 days of the Bible, days which also somewhat suit the personalities of those wearing them, and Sunday stands in for the Sabbath. Sunday asks the other days about their troubles, and each one has something different to say. Monday asks, "If you are our father and our friend, then why are you also our enemy and our source of pain?" Tuesday asks, "Why did you abandon me?" Wednesday says, "It's just so silly that you played both sides." Thursday says, "I am glad for the adventure, but I am desperate to know why." Friday says, "I am not glad, for I nearly fell, yet I also want to know why." Finally, Saturday says, "Actually, I'm content, no problems here." And in case you didn't realize yet that Sunday is actually God, Lucian Gregory, Lucifer, the one true anarchist, shows up. He wants to tear down the government not because it is cruel or because it is kind, but because it governs at all, and those who govern do not suffer as those who are governed. To this, Syme stands up and says that everyone suffers, each in their own way. He then asks Sunday if he suffered too, to which Sunday quotes Jesus in the Gospel of Mark, and both the dream and the book end. Personal thoughts. The man who was Thursday is very Christian, and far more about pessimism in general than any kind of anarchy. There are some other running themes too, like how other people are bad guys and enemies until you get to know them, and how our own ideas about how the world works has more to do with how much we suffer than anything anyone else does to us. The idea of hidden and conflicting loyalties plays a major role in Deus Ex, and so I can see how it would be a significant influence. Plus, exploding society in general pretty well describes one of the endings. There was also a pretty salient point about anarchism made almost in passing towards the end of the book. The greatest supporters of anarchy are the rich, not the poor. The poor have a vested interest in good governance, something able to protect and help them. But the rich prefer no government at all, nothing that can stop them from inflicting their wealth upon others. So just keep that thought in mind the next time you hear someone call for a smaller government. And maybe keep that thought in mind too when you hear what your candidates plan to do with the power you'd give them. Thanks for joining me again in Literature Corner, and I hope I'll see you soon.